essentially gifted this car to him. He's not allowed to sell it.
Right. Where is the fire extinguisher?
Well, here we are, day 4 out in Pennsylvania, trying to get this old RX7 back up and running. The long story short of this car is I've dubbed it Forsberg's First because this is the car that I bought when I was 17 to learn how to drift in. And it was my car that I took to my very first Club Loose event out of E-Town. And then I sold it, bought my first Z, and this thing exchanged hands, I think 4 times, 4 different owners. And it eventually did a round, I'm sorry, not a round, almost a full season of Formula Drift, and back in 2004. And then in like 08 or 09, I was chatting with the owner, my buddy, Lindsay Ross, and told him if you ever wanted to sell that car, you have to sell it to me. You're not allowed to sell it to anybody else. Hits me up shortly after and tells me that he wanted to sell it, of course. So I buy the car, and it's basically been in my possession for almost 12 years now. And I wanted to get it back up and running. I started to build it. I did this whole front end tube structure I started it out in California, and I finished the front end out here at MA Motorsports on the East Coast. And so when I was moving back to California, my brother wanted a project car and I didn't have the space for it. So I essentially gifted this car to him with the concession of he's not allowed to sell it, right? So it's got to stay in the family. It's not going anywhere. And so we slowly started to put this thing back together. Well, I should say he started putting it back together. I was helping him out with some parts, getting him some items for the car. And here we are over 2 years later, almost 3 years later. And actually it has been 3 years. And we're trying to get the car fired up. And I came out here to help him with that. There's just like a lot of little things, you know, some wiring, getting the AEM electronics all talking through the Wiring Specialties harness. We got some D-Force injectors, some other fuel system components. We got AEM Infinity on this car. And so it was just one of those things like coming out and, you know, mounting the coil packs, making the spark plug wires, running the wiring, the chassis wiring, you know, don't worry about that right now. You know, these are going to be the headlights and such later. I'm going to let them deal with that. I'm just here to make this thing run. And, you know, getting all the sensors located. And so feeling really good about it. However, we've been struggling with the crank angle sensor. It was dropping the sync last night when we were trying to fire it. And so I actually extended my trip. I called and changed my flight to stay one more day. I was like, I'm not leaving until this thing runs. That's what I told him. And I don't think he believed me until last night. And so here we are again. He had to go to work because he only took off up until yesterday. But I'm here to try and make sure this happens. That was my goal. That was my plan. And so I'm going to button up a few other things while I wait for the West Coast to wake up. And some of the guys over at AEM, we even had John Reed on the phone last night trying to help us out. And we want to get this thing fired up no matter what. So I'm going to do a couple little things like bleeding the clutch and making sure all that works. Finish tightening up the suspension. We got the whole PBM kit on here with a super angle kit, lower control arm. We did this custom Speedway sway bar setup on there that I actually started down in Mid-Atlantic Motorsports. And then Topics, my brother actually finished up making the old Heim joints and everything else to tie it all together. BC Coilovers. So this thing actually has like a full drift ready kit on it. It's got not only, you know, the same type of suspension that we run as far as the coilovers, but it has the same type of arms and the knuckles and everything else. Fresh rotors, fresh brakes. You know, we went and ran new stainless steel brake lines and just like a lot of little things to make this thing not just a fun street car, but a capable one as well. Yes, I know it's NA and it might not make a ton of power, but it is a fully built, higher compression, half bridge engine with the ITBs. This thing should do a solid 250 horsepower, which there are a lot of cars out there that are drifting with a lot less. And my idea with this build was to have something that was more fun to drive and not just super powerful and a lot of throttle, a lot of speed, and a lot of just tire smoke all the time. This thing is like kind of a momentum car. You gotta, you know, feel the road more and like keep your momentum up and, you know, really drive the car, if you will. So I wanted to just do something different. Every car I have has a turbo except for the V8 cars. And so I wanted to make something that was just very, very simple. It might look a little cluttered in here because we're at that stage where we're just trying to make it run no matter what. So we got the timing lights out. We got some, you know, terminals unplugged, trying to get everything synced back up. But this thing, once it's all together, I'm gonna get the front bumper back on here. You're actually not gonna see any of this. The front bumper comes right to this point. You're just gonna see a little radium tank hanging out, and then everything else in here is just gonna be empty except for that engine way back there. So it's gonna be a pretty awesome setup. You know, we did things like move the alternator from up here to down here. So it just kind of like keeps the whole top of the engine super, super clean. This is a build I've been kind of envisioning for, I don't know, 8 years now. And just like a super back burner project. And that's when I knew I should give it to my brother to finish, because I was just never really gonna get around to it. But one of those things where it never has a deadline, so it never gets done. So now the deadline is I'm here and we're gonna get it done. And I gotta leave tonight. I can't change my flight again. I gotta get back to work. So today's the day. Oh, you letting her up now?
And on.
Been hanging out in here for a while. Get this thing powered up. Get this thing fired up. I'm gonna get it doing something.
You got your little connectors.
Mm-hmm. Fresh as a daisy.
She's looking pretty.
What I was gonna say was, let's if it fires and it's like seems like it's working and all that, it's like only let it like idle for like a few seconds. Like let's keep it under 10 and shut it off, and then we'll get Sam, get him on Team Viewer so he can watch the readouts with us. Just sit there.
You ready?
Fucking really good.
Do it!
Alright.
Secondary fan came on, right?
Secondary fan came on, yep.
There's a water pump.
No pump.
I'm gonna set it to 50% duty cycle.
Something's happening. No, the motor's like trying, but nothing's happening.
The relay is good, so the pump is not something's up with the pump itself.
That is unfortunate. Okay, well that's not good. It's almost like it's seized. Pull this off.
Yeah.
100% right there. Is it on? Oh, yeah.
It is not, no.
You get it going. Unless
Yeah.
you want to do it.
No, you're good. You'll know what to do to catch it. I can screw this up and down.
Where is the fire extinguisher?
Yep.
There.
Alright.
Huh? What? Did you turn it off?
Yeah.
Oh, you good?
I want to shut it up.
Oh, okay.
What did you say?
The catalytic converter is fucking glowing.
Yeah. Way too hot.
No leaks, man.
Nah, no leaks, no leaks.
What?